Before you go out, you make a plan, like where you're going.
Okay, so for today, I'm going to be taking this for parts, blue DSI XL, and I'm going to be putting it into this shell. I'm basically just going to be completely taking it apart, seeing what's wrong with it, taking all the good parts, putting it into here. And what I'll do is put this shell in a cleaning pile. This will be kind of my full process of how I do all of this. So, I'm going to grab some IPA, get that ready. I'll see what's wrong with this guy. I don't remember about this parts console a little while ago. But we'll see. Blue US DSI XL. Both screens have some gnarly scratches in it. Nothing when I press the power button. Let me grab a good battery. Water damage indicator is tripped. Twice. Ah, top screen's busted. Bottom screen is pretty yellowed up. Interesting, it's not doing anything. So, completely frozen. Okay. So obviously the top screen's bad. I'm assuming there's a Wi-Fi card issue. Water damage is a little concerning, but let me just kind of see what it looks like inside. Usually with the Wi-Fi card issues, it could just need reseating. Maybe that plug, a little bit of cleaning if there's any of the water got in that plug. Tiny bit of corrosion. Oh, well, that screw cover's gone. Look at that thing, the kingdom come. Haven't had that happen at all. If I can find it really quick. Yeah. Heard it ping off the wall. It launched. Well, that's a shame. Definitely not a part I wanted to lose. But I am no shortage of black screw covers. Doesn't look like this thing's been opened. The screws look really good. A little gross, but a little line of Sort of that silk screen is being worn off a little. Never did check the card port, the charge port. Game card slot looks good. No problem with any of those pins. Charge port solid. So I guess I'll take this down to its bare bones and then set up a little testing rig to see what the condition of the motherboard is. Both of these screens I'm gonna have to put aside. Yeah, that one nice and ooh, hate it when it does that. Hey, ah, that one didn't ping off the wall, thankfully. Hopefully I can find that screw cover. Where I heard it ping off the wall, it's behind two shelves. Hey, I don't think I did that. The latch for the backlight was lifted up. It may have happened when I took the back cover off. That may have been why the console froze. Huh. I didn't touch that sticker until just now. Interesting. Because if that was not making a solid connection, I could totally see that completely freezing the console up. Needless to say, I've never seen that happen before. Underside of the console looks pretty good. I see some gross though. I don't know what's going on right here. It's really dirty for some reason. Huh. Well, I got in through the headphone jack, but water damage indicator is tripped on this one as well. I don't see any signs of like real liquid damage. I'll take it. Buttons feel good. For now, I'll just put this aside. The bottom screen. The Wi-Fi card with the motherboard. Get all these buttons out. The D-pad's kind of gross and sticky. Take all the buttons and the membranes out and stick them in my little bag of parts that I'll clean later. Okay. I'll verify that the screen is broken when I get all this taken out. I know it is, but I just want to make sure 100% before I pitch it. Or at least put it in my bag of junk screens that I can't quite let go of. No, there's nothing I can do with them, but never know. Wi-Fi. Nah. Phone. We pop the hinge mechanism out. I've already dislodged you. Ugh. A good reason why I disassemble these consoles completely to clean them. You just can't get into this groove with conventional cleaning methods. That's disgusting. And roll the ribbon cable. Stuff it in that little metal ring. Place the adhesive on the bottom of the screen. I need to unroute the Right. This aside really fast. Here's the shell. I'm just gonna sort of bubble it back together. I can keep it in one piece. And for the bottom shell, I'm gonna take out the components. Because all of these shell pieces are gonna be submerged in hot soapy water, and I don't want metal and circuit boards going underwater. It'd probably be fine, but I would rather not test that. Plus, I can get these crevices a lot easier with these things out of the way. A little bit of IPA to soften that adhesive. A particular pain. Grab my bigger pry tool. Not that. I did notice that when I was taking the shell off, the plus button is already sort of like pushed in. I'm wondering if that's wedging the volume buttons in. I haven't seen it ever look like that before, so I'm wondering what's going on there. Usually this little piece will pop out. All I'm doing is bending the metal. Very interesting. Like using pliers if I don't have to, but what's going on with this plus? Ugh. Guessing that's where a majority of the water ended up. That's kind of gross. Okay. Put that in my pile of shells I need to clean. Desperately, apparently. That one was gross. I did bend this a little back. Slight bit of rust on that button. Springs. Okay, clean. 2 springs, 2 pivots. Button. Okay, these can go in here. Place all this aside for now. Deal with them later. Put all this stuff away. Not really too worried about them being mixed in with my screws. I've done this enough times that I know where all the screws go. Okay. Thinking. I believe this was the bad battery. I'll put it over here so I don't mix those up. I'm getting my space prepped. Deciding whether or not I should throw this paper towel away. Let me just fold it over. It has debris in it, and I don't want to waste it. So let me grab my testing apparatuses. I know the bottom screen at least has sunlight. I'm going to grab a different top screen just for testing. Grab the bottom shell from the new shell to sort of house everything. And I want to test the top screen, but what I'll do is just fashion together all of the pieces. See what I get when I turn it on. Wi-Fi card. Here's the original screen. Pretty sure it's broken, but give it a test try anyway. Sure, this is the good charged battery. Yeah, and there's a big line. So this top screen's done. I don't know why the bottom screen isn't playing anything and why the console freezes. Oh no, this was all through eBay. And it really just started that I wanted to get one of these consoles again because I had one in my childhood, but I sold it. And then I'm like, man, I really kind of want one again. What I did is I ended up just buying a bunch of junk ones on eBay because I'm like, well, I'm somewhat handy and I think it would be kind of neat to put one together and try and fix it. And one console turned into 5 that turned into like 50, maybe 100 at this point. I don't know. And then here I am. Seems like there's kind of not really. I can't really say I found a niche because other people do this as well, but there's a lot of junk consoles, and I don't think there's that many people actually doing refurbishments on these older consoles. Yeah, me too. So this screen is completely busted. So hekoi. Ash. I grab a new bottom screen. That bottom screen was acting weird. Pretty sure I seated it correctly. Here's a test bottom screen that has blotches on it. Pretty sure it's just liquid damage. Turns on, it still works. All I need it to do. Right now I'm just verifying that the motherboard is good. Touch screen. This is also a test top screen. Has some material within the LCD housing itself that I'm not going to try and clean. It will get worse. Good battery. I'm only working with DSi XLs, which are, let me grab one that's actually complete, which are these ones. I would like to work on 3DSs, but the parts consoles for them are still very expensive. Like you're talking like $60 to $100 a piece. And I don't really think that the profit margin there is worth it quite yet. I can pick up DSi XLs for about $25 a piece, 25 to 35 depending on the condition. Like this one right here, I think I picked up for 25. It has some physical damage on it, but well, I actually don't know what's wrong with this one. It doesn't power on right now, but I can usually sell them for about $80 to $100. So there is some profit margin. But yeah, 3DSs, they're just too expensive. I keep an eye on that market, but they're just a little outside of my price range for what I would want to spend for a hobby. Okay, so 2 known functional screens. Try and power it on, see what happens. Ah, there she is. 000 FE00. That might be a death sentence. So from what I understand that is a bricked NAND. Might be a bad Wi-Fi card. Let me look up my notes. But I'm pretty sure that is death when it comes to these consoles. That and 0000 FEFE, those are just both non-recoverable damage to the main memory chip. FE000 means there's an error with communication with the NAND. Yeah. I'll try a different Wi-Fi card, but I don't really know if I can actually do it. This might be a junk motherboard. That's a fantastic question I don't know the answer to. I think I just like working with my hands, and this just kind of aligns with my hobby of playing video games. A different Wi-Fi card didn't change it. So I've always wanted to try something on these consoles. I really don't think it will do anything, but at this point, this motherboard is garbage, so I'm really not losing anything trying. I've wanted to reflow the NAND to see if that will do anything. Let me keep my Wi-Fi card separate here. Now, I know this probably won't work, but I'm gonna have to try. That's my test screen. I'll put it over there. I'll remove the power board. So my rough understanding is the NAND flash is this Samsung chip right here, and that is where all the problems come from. Since this motherboard was water damaged, I'm betting on some corrosion under there that's creating an issue with one of the solder balls. Oh. Oh, never mind. I could just see one of the solder points from above NAND. Just don't remember seeing that. I've never really studied the NAND that closely either. I'll verify that that's the NAND, but I'm pretty sure that's the NAND flash, CPU, and then I think that small chip right there. My iFixit has a good teardown guide with like. Ah, here it is. Oh no, the small chip's the RAM. Okay. And the primary ARM CPU, Samsung first generation, Movi NAND, MMC controller. Okay. Um. Hmm. No, I think the worst I get is rust. But usually these motherboards come out pretty good. It's the shell and other components that are just like the backs of the screens will just be completely rusted out. These spaces I think are just a little too small for bugs. Sometimes I'll get remnants of bugs, but not as bad as that cockroached original Xbox. That was bad. But I was able to save that, and it still works just fine. But no, just rust from just consoles that have probably been submerged and left wet for days and months. Alright, so will be a fun one. I've never tried reflowing the NAND, so this will be neat. Grab my hot air station. Horrified, maybe. That took a lot of work. I really didn't practice probably the best de-rust procedure. I probably should have just replaced that metal shielding, but for a very cheap Xbox, I'm okay with it. I took a long time, like, going through with a microscope, cleaning off pretty much every inch of that motherboard. Like, the cockroaches were just caked on, and I had to scrape them off. Good times. I know I hear horror stories from other people who do repair where they do, where they find cockroaches inside, like, PS3s and stuff. There's just so much space in there. They get in through the vents and they just have a heyday. It's nice and warm. Nothing bothers them. And then one of those cockroaches decides to wander into the main power supply and pop it. the cockroach pops and then the console dies. That flux open. I'm gonna do 400 degrees. Try not to melt that connector next to it. Just see what happens. And get some flux underneath the NAND as well. Get my little fan going so I'm not breathing in flux. Xbox 360 controllers? Oh yeah, I see them all the time at thrift stores. That console was a very popular console, so I see those parts like AV cables and controllers all the time. I usually try to pick them up if they're like $5. I have like 8 360 controllers for reasons I don't really understand. Oh really? Huh. I might have to DM you about that. I would be more than happy to offload one. It depends on your purpose. If you're looking for an Xbox 360 controller for an Xbox 360 controller, I can hook you up, but if you wanted an Xbox 360 controller for your PC, you have to get a wired one, because the wireless ones don't work on PC. Unfortunately, you have to get like a wireless adapter. Ooh, that's smoky. I'm gonna DM you about that, because I would not mind parting with one. The only thing is I can't verify that they're, well, I can try to verify that they're 100% working, but I have to rely on just playing Xbox 360 games. I don't have access to, like, actual testing software like I would like. I can't plug them into PCs. Oh yeah. I'm trying a YOLO strat to save this guy. I don't think it's gonna work, but I have to give it a try. Because if this doesn't work, this thing is bricked, and this console is all but... this thing is just parts. Where'd my pick go? I don't think I've ever seen this strat proposed, so this will be a YOLO strat. Come on, BGA chip. I know you want to soften up here. I have a fan blowing on my face, so it's all blowing away from me. I need like a fume extractor, but I have a desk fan. Ooh, alright, that wiggled. That means all of the solder balls have been liquefied. Awesome. So for context, this console gave me a fatal error, which is error 000FE00, which from what I've been told is an error in communication with the main system memory, which is this guy right here, the system flash NAND. And that's usually because either somebody was messing around with homebrewing and bricked it. I've heard reports of somebody turning their console off while it was updating and that causing it to brick. Bricking essentially means it's dead. It's unrecoverable. So I'm hoping that since this console has had water damage, or maybe just due to its age, the solder balls underneath this main memory chip have just cracked over time, just old. And that in reflowing it, I can get it to come back to life. I've never heard of anybody trying to do this, but it would basically just, if it's bricked, it's a paperweight. I can't do anything about it. I can't replace this NAND because it's married to the main CPU. So, in theory, I've never actually tried it, but in theory you could probably replace both the CPU and the NAND flash off of like a truly busted console, like if the PCB was like bent. I have one that has a good crease along it because somebody, I don't know, dropped it or something dropped on it or maybe a sibling cracked it in half or something. You could probably take both chips off of that and transfer it onto this and make it a good motherboard, but you are dealing with ball gray arid ball. They're BGA chips. They're just chips with little solder balls on the bottom of them, and if you take it off, you have to reball it, which I don't have the stencils. I don't have the kit for that. It's a pain. I don't want to deal with it. So it's better for me just to set this aside as a parts console, harvest all the parts I need off of it. Ball grid array. I was forgetting the A for some reason. And it was stressing me out. Now I'll try and clean off the flux as much as I can. Trying, Kawhi. I'm trying. And if this does turn into a parts console, there's some good parts I can take off of this. I can take the card slot off. I could take the pins from the card slot. A couple of these connectors I can take off. And then there's various components like resistor. It looks like it peed itself. Yeah, that's the resin. Or the resin flux. I'm not really a fan of it because it's a little too tacky. Does a good job. More rubbing alcohol. Mostly just trying to flush out the NAND to get if there's any flux underneath it. My solder, or my rubbing alcohol is coming out clean, so I think I'm pretty good there. So from what I understand flux being is, you could almost think of it like it helps the solder flow. You could almost think of it like a moisturizer for the solder. It just helps it conduct heat evenly. Easier, so the solder will melt a lot easier than just applying straight heat. Yeah, that's important. I don't like it when I get flux in these little connectors. They're really hard to clean out. And so basically the little tin I have next to me, it kind of looks like earwax. It's kind of that same consistency, but once you put heat to it, it turns to liquid. Does a very good job, but kind of messy. I had to put on a lot just to make sure it could get underneath this chip. I think that's good. Grody in my... Get this. Put my little desk fan on my board to let it dry off a little. Cooling the booty. It's less cooling and more making that alcohol evaporate. Alright. Whew, there's still a lot of alcohol left on this. Okay. Oh, hello, Spud, by the way. Ah, I'm gonna need this Wi-Fi card. if there are other games we can play together. I don't really play many multiplayer games other than Genshin nowadays. Actually, I never really played many multiplayer games. I did play a lot of Power World, but then that kept deleting my saves, so I stopped playing that. And then I didn't like what First Ascendant was doing, so I stopped playing that. Okay. We could do Minecraft. I still have an Xbox subscription. I don't know if you... Don't you guys do Java? I'm pretty sure that multiplayer is free. I guess I'm not too familiar with doing Java Minecrafting. I'm pretty sure I have yeah, I remember buying a copy because I wanted to play Pixelmon. And I did that for a little while. That was a good time. Oh, yeah, we could do that sometime. You'll have to let me know. Because I fill my days doing this and editing Baldur's Gate 3 videos. Okay, moment of truth. Don't expect it to work, and it didn't. I'm gonna try swapping out the Wi-Fi card again, but... yeah, that was a good time. Yep. So this motherboard is garbage. Ah, 'tis unfortunate. Modern Pixelmon, have they been updating it still? Weren't they hit with like a... I'm pretty sure they were hit with like a copyright strike. I wouldn't care what we played, as long as we gotta play together. I actually don't know many of the mods on Java aside from Pixelmon, so modded would be kind of fun. I know the mods can get pretty intense. Okay, this is a Wi-Fi card. So, since this motherboard is bricked, I'm going to document that it is hardware bricked. Oh, have they? Okay. Yeah, because I know that one time we played it, I thought it was like it was a lot of... it was pretty interesting. And I really liked what they were doing with it. So it's good to see that it's still getting supported. Alright, and motherboard serial number 10Y06012 U019510A19. This is a US motherboard with 000FE00. Reflow NAND didn't change outcome. Well, I remember when we did our Pixelmon server, there were the Ultra Beast there were those portals to Ultra Space, but I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, it was just basically a portal to like a reverse world type of situation where you could find different Pokemon in. I don't think the Ultra Beasts were actually in that game. They maybe were and just hidden behind some convoluted Easter egg. It's Cobblemon. I think I've seen images of that. I think that would fit a lot more the aesthetic of Minecraft than Pixelmon, because the Pixelmon were just like 3D rips of those characters, and they worked, but they just seemed a little off. Okay, so what I'm going to end up doing is just completely swapping the motherboard, which I'm basically functionally speaking, I'm taking no parts from that original console I took apart and just replacing everything, which is kind of an annoying way to fix things, but I can't really do much with bad screens and a bricked motherboard. So I just gotta start over from scratch. Thankfully, I have a lot of motherboards kicking around. I just need to find good screens and a good shell. So I wonder if Cobblemon is the original, or maybe, I'm guessing, I almost kind of wonder if when Pixelmon got hit from the Pokemon Company, a lot of those original devs kind of bounced off because I didn't want to get sued out the ass, which is understandable. So here's a motherboard. I'm going to quickly look it up. I have it inventoried. A05. So this guy. 201. Do I have any notes on it? No known issues. Fantastic. Okay, let's look at this guy. Pins in the game card slot look good. Charger looks good. Buttons feel good. Okay. I'll put my test screens aside because I don't need them. We'll kind of clean up my area though. Fractured, okay. Yeah, that... Be it creators have different visions for it or whatnot. Whatever that drama ends up being. As you can tell, I don't really follow Minecraft mods. Minecraft really isn't that much fun alone. I did it a few times and it gets kind of old. Definitely a game where you have to play with other people for it to be truly enjoyable. I'll pick it up every once in a while to just kind of screw around and creative, but vanilla experience is kind of meh. You kind of end up just doing the same thing over and over again. Like, well, I've already dug this hole. Like, it's not that I have a problem with vanilla Minecraft, it's just... If it's just vanilla Minecraft by yourself, it's a different experience. Because when we play on stream with Jake and Ken and Anna sometimes, that I find that to be enjoyable, because we can just do random stuff. Like, oh, today we'll go to a dungeon or something. So, I need to find my good screens. I have a pile of them, and then I need to attempt to match them, which is always a joy. I will be right back. Yes, just let me know. Okay, so I have a few piles of different screens. Part I don't necessarily like doing, because all of these screens are just a little different from each other. A lot of them will vary slightly on color temperature. Some might be more blue, some might be more red. It's a pain. It's all highly subjective since I have no way of objectively measuring color temperature. Oh no, poor Spood. Hopefully it's not a bad sickness, is it just like a cold? I can go to the LCD tester without... Okay, I need to turn off my lights. Oh really? Oh, that sucks. That's funny. Well, maybe it's because I don't leave the house, but I've yet to get COVID. I'm very pleased to not have gotten it. Oh, the battery would be helpful. Poor Spood. Ooh, this is a Spanish motherboard. Oh, look at that, bro. Been good. Stefan, I think his name was. Hmm. I may have gotten lucky this first time. These screens are looking pretty good. I almost feel like there's just a bit of yellowing on the bottom screen, but overall I think these look pretty good together. Yeah, I'm okay with this. Wow, it usually takes me cycling through a few screens before I actually settle on one that I like. Get all these out of my way. You can just tell Spud it's worth it for all the cheap pizza. Your sickness is worth it. Ugh, I'm not envious of you guys at all. I didn't get it. The worst I'll probably have it is that first round of vaccinations kind of knocked me out for a day, but I'm okay with that being the worst of it for me. Ooh, on my main light. So what I'm going to do is plug in all the components that I stick in the upper shell, just to make sure that they work. Because once I start reassembling that upper shell, if any of those components don't work, I have to completely disassemble the console again to replace the parts, and I would like to avoid that. Mainly the important ones being the top screen and the camera, because the camera and the top screen ribbons wrap, or they coil together, so if one breaks I have to disassemble the console completely. So now Gmoof is invincible. I see. All that 5G update, I guess, was a rough one. Mine was probably really good because I'm close to a tower. Must have gotten interrupted. Did you walk in front of like a metal book or like a metal file cabinet or something? Oh, it'd help if I latched down the top screen. Alright, bro. Looks like he used the camera so I don't have to go through the tutorial. But I don't have the touchscreen installed. Yeah, this random bro getting internet famous. Never would have known. A lot of these images are from like early 2010s. So it wouldn't be surprising if this dude was just some grown-ass adult. I can actually check to see when these pictures are from. "2012, yeah. The doggo." And quickly make sure both cameras are working. Yeah, there's the front facing and then rear facing. Cool. I do not need flip note. I need DSI sounds. La 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 la! Alright, microphone works. Those are all the components I stick on the top screen, so I can go ahead and prep for reassembly. Neat. I have to replace the bezel on the bottom screen. And dogs. I think I actually have that game. It just shipped to me in one of these random consoles. I'll put the bottom screen over there. Alright, first order of business. I'm going to wrap the ribbon cable for the top screen in Kapton tape, just to reinforce it, because these ribbon cables have the tendency to rip. Especially with how old they are, and the fact that they are in a hinge. Then I'm going to carefully cut around it with side cutters. I have yet to nick my ribbon cable with these side cutters. I would hate for this to be the first day. Okie dokie, I can do that. Thank you. Well, these cables do okay. It's usually when, like, very rarely do they actually rip naturally. It's usually when somebody tries to do a shell replacement that they install this connector in wrong, or they install the ribbon incorrectly. Then the ribbon experiences stress it wasn't expecting, and then it tears. But since this ribbon coils, there's going to be a lot of various stresses that either Nintendo knew about and figured, like, well, they'll last for 10 years, who cares at that point. But usually a lot of the screens that I have are either damaged due to water, they're like physically busted, like somebody hit it with something or the console was dropped, or it was torn due to a really faulty reshell job. But there are a couple points, like where it begins the coil up here, it's rubbing against the top shell, and it's just once in a, like, one cable in, like, I don't know, 100 will just completely tear right where it's touching. And other times, the Wi-Fi ribbon and the microphone are interacting with this ribbon cable, and I'm guessing just rarely when you open the console it'll put a lot of stress on the ribbon cable and tear it, and it's completely random. It could just be the batch, like whatever the ribbon cable's made out of. Maybe that was just a bad batch, or otherwise they're fine. But I like just taking the extra precaution. Wrapping it in Kapton tape makes it a little easier for me to install it, so I don't accidentally tear it, because I will. And also hopefully just kind of future-proofs it a little. Oh yeah, no, the original Xbox is really easy to work with. They definitely built that thing to last. Well, it's an old PC, basically, is what it is. Did you ever get your modded OG Xbox going? I know you said you had a failed attempt. I don't know if that's like a it's dead type of failed attempt. I know I've really been looking into modding my 360s, but I have to buy a I think I have to get a Raspberry Pi Pico to do those. And I have to look up like my motherboard model to make sure that that actual exploit will work. It's a lot of work, and well, even though Raspberry Pi Picos are only like $4, I haven't really decided if that's worth me spending money. I'm just quickly wiping down the shell that I cleaned, just make sure I didn't miss any spots. Gotcha. I know there's some mods you can do to upgrade the RAM and CPU, which I think is kind of nuts. I didn't know you could actually do that. But since the Xbox is basically a PC, you're not really doing anything too different than what you would do with just a PC, which I think is kind of neat. Okay, those components are pretty good. Grab the main part. Ribbon cable's good. Oh, so now the fun part, getting it through the hinge. Let me make sure my components are okay. Just gonna clean these really quick. Yeah. Yeah, I get that. You kind of need a really good desk to do all this. So literally just off screen to the right of me I have my iron and my hot air station. Now the fun part. Now I use a bobby pin. Works for me. Now ended up just buying a really cheap one, Chinese one off of Amazon, and it's worked okay for me, but it's one of those things you buy cheap and struggle using it, or buy something a little spendier and really get what you pay for. Especially if you're just starting off soldering. I don't know, I guess I'm not really an authority on the subject, I can't really say. But I always think you should start off with cheap tools, and then if you do end up pursuing more, either do more soldering, then you buy something better. And if not, then your initial investment wasn't that great. Oh. Okay, I think I may have got it. You would mainly only do that for just ROMs. I actually don't know much beyond like the initial modding of 360. I have to imagine they've gotten it to the point to where you can just have games on a big fat thumb drive that you can just run them off of. But yeah, the idea of actually having to solder to different points with a little mod chip looks kind of scary. Okay, it looks like that went through alright. I did forget to put in the ring when I took the bobby pin off, which is kind of unfortunate, but yeah, definitely it makes me appreciate Nintendo's inability to secure their hardware, because or maybe it's just more the dedication of their fans. Because the modding scene for pretty much every Nintendo console is incredibly easy. Like pretty much everything from like the DSi up, you could just do via software. Via exploits through different games or applications. Yeah, it's very easy. And just the sheer amount of games you get out of it, it's very much worth it. And there's somewhat of a risk, but very little. Especially if you follow instructions, there's very little risk. Yes, it does. That and the Wii U. Which, thankfully, I have a spare Wii U that I've been wanting to mod, because that is sort of the peak. They're the best console to do both Wii U, and GameCube emulation on. Actually, it's not emulation, it's actual hardware. And I think you can also do DS games on the Wii, which is kind of whack. I've never actually played a DS game on a Wii U before. Guess I will have to get the bobby pin again. Which kind of sucks, because the Wii U is probably the hardest Nintendo console well, I wouldn't say it's the hardest Nintendo console to find, but it's very expensive. Because not many people bought it. Alright. Metal ring is on. Ribbon cable fed through. All of that went fine and dandy. I know a couple of the motherboards for these consoles have come pre-modded. I think I'm gonna steal one of those boards and put it in my personal DSi XL, because I'm not gonna mod any of these purposefully, because I'd rather not try and sell a modded console, as there's just way too much liability involved with that. It's not your turn, Wi-Fi antenna. Get the microphone in. So I can get the camera cinched down. Okay, have the microphone in its little channel. A little plate back on. And the retention screw. Alright, now to route the speakers. I think this was the same pry tool I used to get. Yeah, it was the one. Oh well. It's clean. Okay, speaker grill and the spacer. Guess I'm doing black on bottom. Okay. Now the DSi XL routes the wires for the speakers above the screen. The DSi routes it below. A little different. I've only caught one person who attempted a repair on a DSi XL route the cables below the screen, which I thought was kind of funny. Somebody who was more familiar with DSIs than DSi XLs. Didn't harm anything, but I thought it was kind of funny. And speaker grill, spacer. Okay. The Wi-Fi antenna in. Oh. Missed a spot. This little guy right here, which I think is just a little grounding sticker for the top screen. For whatever reason, there's a failure. I don't know of its purpose beyond that, so it might not even be that important. Figure if Nintendo spent the penny, put that piece of copper there, then it was worth it for them. And if it's worth it for them, it's worth it for me. Just put a piece of Kapton tape down to kind of stick it down a little better. Continue routing. Okay. Your top piece ready. Stick the LED diffuser in. Grab the mechanism. Now just wipe it down real quick. Looked like it had like a little bit of corrosion on it. Yeah, it's leaving blue. Yummy. I think that's more just like battery acid, doesn't make much sense, so I wonder if something got leaked in. This was from the console that had the water damage indicators tripped, so who knows? Not too concerned about it. Wipe it off as more of a courtesy. Right, now to get everything fed through. I feel like that should be a little cleaner. Already run through this with a... Yeah, other than taking off the paint. It'll be fine. Does it? Yeah, I usually don't disclose it. Because that's more for, I think that's just more for, like, warranty than anything. So, like, if I were to send this console back to Nintendo and they saw it was tripped, they'd say, nope, that sucks for you. Usually, well, I need to give Nintendo some credit. Their customer service is, like, legendary. But that's usually just like a manufacturer thing that they can protect themselves from the user incompetence, I guess you could say. But since these consoles are, what, like... Jeez. When did this thing come out? I keep forgetting when it actually did. These consoles are 14 years old. So I think at this point it's like... If it turns on and the screen looks good and it plays, who cares? It's more as me, since I'm buying these consoles, if I see that the water damage indicator is tripped, that's usually an uh-oh sign. But usually it's not the end of the world. Sometimes it's just like only a little bit of water got on that sticker directly, but not inside the console. Sometimes it's like a, well, the screens are bad. The screens have been busted due to water damage. So it's more just for the repair people. I'm selling it as like refurbished, cleaned, and verified working. So it's just a lot of trust me bro type of stuff. Like me showing the water damage indicator on all these consoles, I don't think would really matter. Because it's like, yeah, the water damage indicator is tripped because, like on this one, these are all, I clean all these shells. Water damage indicator is just completely obliterated. It's supposed to have little pink dots. And when it gets water damage, it turns pink. But since this thing was submerged in underwater for like 10 minutes, all that pink washed away. So it's just a little white sticker. It's a 14-year-old console. I disclosed that I've completely opened and cleaned it, so if the water damage, even if it was or wasn't tripped, I don't think it matters. It wouldn't matter to me. Okay, hinges in place. Get the glossy top shell piece on. I didn't test the hinge, but usually these are fine. Yep, opens and shuts. Nice. Coolio, I'm liking it. Alright, just gonna quickly wipe off the LED diffuser for the power board. This can sometimes get a little grody, but I'm not going to use that toothbrush. I need to clean that toothbrush off a little better because I had flux all over it. Okay, that's good. I will quickly route the cables for the microphone and the Wi-Fi antenna. Sort of a pet peeve of mine when I get these consoles in. Some consoles I'll get that have been opened by people and reassembled poorly, so they don't bother routing these cables back in. So it's just they're just spider webbed all over the place. Which I get it, if you're trying to repair this console, you mess up, and you're just getting frustrated, you just slap it back together and sell it on eBay. But I will take the care to route them as the good Reggie intended. Okay, I'll verify with the motherboard that my run for the bottom, or for the microphone, was correct, because working with a very limited amount of cable for the microphone. If it doesn't reach, that's a problem. It does reach. Grab a piece of Kapton tape to keep them in place as I sort of manipulate the motherboard in between putting it on and testing it and whatnot. Alright, now I need to grab buttons. I have a little tackle box full of buttons. Keypad. Power button. Grab some buttons that are in good shape. A, B. Power button. Select button, there's an X. Y button. Or art thou Y button? That'll work. Membranes. Add face button. Select power. Quickly brush off these. I do clean all of these buttons, but not individually. Just put them all in a bag, like a laundry safe bag, and then just have them submerged in hot soapy water when I clean the shells. So it's not a perfect process, but I think it gets off or at least loosens up the big stuff. being in hot soapy water, I figure that's not a net negative. Sometimes you get some finger grody that needs a little more work, I suppose you could say. Now I'm specifically picking out nicer buttons because this shell is a little special. This shell has a matching serial number to a box that I have, the original box that this thing came in. I'm going to try and sell them as a pair. Because I really don't have a use for a console box. And I figure some people are just very much into having the console box. That's what this piece of paper was for, to remind me that this was a shell that had a console box associated with it. And maybe in a perfect world I can get a little bit of money out of it, more than I would just selling this console alone. Hopefully I have a box big enough that I can hold both the console and the box in. I think I do. Usually the D-pad's pretty bad. This one's not bad. There's kind of a goober there. I don't know if that's a goober or a stain. Some type of goober. Okay. And the start and select button don't really see much use, so they're usually very clean. It's just the face buttons that are usually the worst. A, B, Y, and X on the D-pad. Okay, this bottom screen bezel is going to be a pain to work with, but for now I just need this back together and verify that it is working, that I didn't damage the top screen in the process of putting it in. Because though the Kapton tape is supposed to reinforce it, it's just, I'm never going to assume that it can't be damaged in the process of being coiled. Top screen in. I'll just go with boot essential components for now. I'll at least probably plug in the camera as well, just to make sure that survived with the installation. Kind of fillet the console open like this to give me more slack. Okay. Now I'll just kind of... here it is. Just going to put in one screw in on the motherboard and power board just to keep it in place while I'm pressing buttons. The power board I can probably just install. Because this will have no reason to come back out. What's interesting is I see damage around the screw holes on these power boards. I think these are from the factory like that. I've seen that far too many times. And this console hasn't been opened. Which is a strange... Because unless these... I don't think these consoles are assembled by hand, I wouldn't think. It's a lot to hand assemble, but we're talking about Eastern market. Maybe they're just a little different manufacturing process. Okay, I guess since I'm here and this touchscreen ribbon wants to cooperate, go ahead and install it. Get the back shell on, plug in the shoulder buttons. And then I want to verify that the touchscreen is working before I go changing the bezel, which is going to be a pain because I've already changed the bezel on this screen. I have a different adhesive on it, which is very difficult to take off. Ah, it survived. I'm just going to go ahead and wipe this console just so I can get it back in English. I don't have to see that kid's face. C, C, C. And I guess while that's going, I can go get a bezel. Okay, just gonna look over this. Looks like it's in pretty clean. Maybe one day. I can sort of work on the paperwork while I'm waiting. Oh. Ugh. Blue. Ah, acceptor. Okay. English, thank goodness. No. Okay. Okay. Whoopsie. Okay, that's just the glint of the light. Alright. Time to get my testing software going. Load up diagnose.se. Diagnose. Click all the buttons. Nothing too concrete right now, just to make sure that they actually work. Microphone I already checked, but... Ooh. Actually, I didn't check the microphone with this board. It is not responding. Actually, I did check it with this board, so... Ah, because I don't have it plugged into the motherboard. Right. Ooh, gave me a bit of a scare. Okay, I was really in here just to test the touchscreen, but got a little carried away. Yeah, it looks like it just needs to be recalibrated here. Okay. Test the touchscreen again, but I'm guessing I won't have any problems with it. Yeah, that looks good. Covering the whole border of the touchscreen really good. I'm not seeing any dead spots. Okay. So now I can get to changing the bezel. Okay. Need to keep an eye on my phone battery. Okay, it's doing okay. Alright, this should not be fun. So I've already changed the bezel on this one. I put a pink one on it because I thought it would work in my pink console, but the color temperatures of the two screens were off. Ooh. Ooh, I think I did myself a favor by leaving the OEM adhesive on. Ooh, look at me. Ooh. Yeah, because since I already took it off, the OEM adhesive was weaker. Ooh, I got lucky. I got very lucky. The adhesive that I'm about to put on is kind of a pain to take off. Okay, then double-sided tape, mainly used in phone repair, but it finds a place here. It's very good at its job. Too good, as what I was getting at. Side cutters. Whew, okay. Back of it. Okay. Thankfully, the shell has little channels where these bezels sit in, so installing these bezels is very easy. Just gonna quickly wipe around the screen I'm gonna put in. Just to make sure the adhesive's not sticking on anything gross. Okay, and then gently place that in. And that went in good. Now since I've been touching all the ends of these ribbon connectors, I'm just going to wipe them off with rubbing alcohol. Grab my toothbrush, hit these contact points on the boards. also need to do the game card slot, charge port, and the 2 audio ports, the microphone and the headphone slot. That was not bad. Okay, I can start putting screws in. Battery cover from the other shell. If it fits, I'll have to clean it off. Put in the shoulder covers. For the shoulder buttons. Sure the plastic clips engage. It's not getting hung up on the shoulder buttons. Okay, yeah, this battery cover matches. I've noticed that sometimes there'll be a slight difference in texture. Be it just it being worn down, or maybe it came out of the factory like that. I'm actually not sure. since this battery cover is where where hands are usually, there's usually a lot of hand goop on it. Okay. You know what, it doesn't really fit that well. That stands out. I'll go see if I can find a better matching one. Okay, I think this one matches better. I just have to clean it. I'll clean this one. I'm going to use distilled water though. Okay. That looks a lot better. And for some reason they use like a different texture for these back plates on the same color. Not entirely sure why, but change of budget maybe. But it makes it so you can't really mix and match these battery covers without it kind of standing out. Okay, now I can start going through testing. Right and proper this time. Clean up a little. Let me put these screw covers away. Okay. I'm gonna kind of go over what I have on my check sheet. Go over it one at a time. I'll do this one more time before I actually go to posting it. This is more just to make sure that everything is working and nothing I need to, no dramatic open heart surgeries right away. It looks like the bezel went in really well. Sitting in there nice. No issues with there. There's a tiny bit of play in the screen if I put a tiny bit off. So check the power board and motherboard. Console turns on. So I can assume those are fine. Camera, both of those are fine. I'll slip in my R4 card and go to my testing software. Whatever I did with my big eye, there it is. A little bit of grody on the mic. Okay. Press each button about 5 or so times. Shoulder buttons are the ones I'm worried about the most. Okay. Yep, all the buttons work. So I don't do that. I'll do the microphone test. I can already tell it's responding. Okay, tactile buttons are good. I do notice the bottom screen is just a touch bluer. Let me go into my LCD tester really quick. Yeah, it's just a touch bluer. Yeah, you can't even see it on the camera. It's very, very minor. And that's just the differences in these screens, and I can only guess so close. Okay, let's check the touchscreen. Yep, good. Don't see any problems, nothing. Was he wise? Oh, well, I know where I can buy the best viewers. Speakers and mics are good. I'm gonna assume the headphone jack is good. I'm not gonna test that right now because I don't really want to naggle that with my current setup, but basically I would just plug in phones and listen to each earbud, which I assume it's fine. I don't think I've ever had an earbud or like a headphone jack go bad on me. Check the cameras. I'll check the charge port. Basically all I'm looking for is if solid orange light, and if I jiggle it around, charge light doesn't go off. Stays solid the whole time. That's good. I need to check game card slot and SD card slot. SD card slot. I just need to verify that the console can read anything off of the SD card, which in this case, I do a song. Yeah, reads it just fine. Next I'll do game card slot, which I don't really have the most scientific method of doing that, other than throwing a stack of shovelware games in it and seeing if it can read them all. There are a couple ones that I guess you could almost consider a hard mode. That if the console can read those, then the game card slot's in really good shape. If it's having trouble reading them, then it probably just needs to be cleaned. I am noticing the mechanism for this game card slots being a little strange. Might just be due to me not having the bottom shell screwed in. Do that real quick. Just put in the screws flanking the game card slot. Be mainly temporary. Okay. Crafting mama. Usually my consoles will read this just fine. Still having strange issues with the mechanism though. Not wanting to release the card. Good, bro. Okay, I'm gonna have to look into this. I'll just make sure that the actual pins work, then I can see what's going on with the mechanism. Build 3 usually reads. Yep. Come on. I'm not gonna put that one in because it has a sticker on it. Dog Whisper is kind of a challenging one. Fine, cool. Oh yeah, this process takes a while. Ugh. This SpongeBob game can kind of be a challenge. It is indeed proving a challenge. I'm guessing this game card slot just needs to be cleaned. Okay, I need to see what's going on with this game card slot. It is not releasing those games. I don't think I noted anything with this motherboard, so it is a bit unusual for it to be having an issue with its mechanism. Game card slot wasn't particularly dirty, so I'm not concerned about somebody dumping something in it. The slot is acting very strange. Okay, seems to be doing okay. It might have just been case where the back shell just wasn't on correctly and that was interfering. We'll try again. Maybe before I get this far, this time I'll enter in this motherboard into my record. Or basically just combined the shell and the motherboard number in my records. Ooh, this one assembled. This is blue. WW41732420, which has motherboard number, be this one that I have on screen, D9K6A05. Okay. For my sanity, I'm just going to put the screws in. Let's see if I can put IPA left. Getting the top of these screws off. I'll see if that was enough. Yeah, okay. Definitely not as loud as a standard card slot. But the mechanism's working, so really all that matters. Go ahead and do a cleaning on it while I'm here. Saturate the pins with rubbing alcohol and stick it in the game card slot a few times. Okay. Alright. I'll run through my shovelware again. Starting by the easiest to hardest again. Usually that cleaning does work just fine, but I'm gonna have to keep an eye on it because once that alcohol dries, it goes back to being stubborn. But we'll see. Crafting mama. Most Pretty much every console I have will read it just fine. Yep. Field 3, which was what I just used to clean the card slot. Yep. SpongeBob. Still having a bit troublesome time reading SpongeBob. Okay. Dog Whisperer. Read that. And then this Wonder Pets game, it's pretty much, if my console can read it, then the game card slot is in good shape. Still having a bit of a hard time ejecting these cards. Oh, there's SpongeBob. Maybe it just took a couple. Ooh. Now they do have the metal lip inside this card slot. It just needs to bend up just a touch. Might be putting too much pressure on the cards. Either that or I might need to actually clean the card slot mechanism. Flush it out a couple times with rubbing alcohol and see how that does it. Might be possible something sticky got in there and it's just behaving strangely. Just not as audible as it should be. Kind of implies to me something's in it, key-wise. A little hard to diagnose without actually taking the card slot apart. It's kind of a pain. I'm gonna take it apart to where I can get the bottom screen out so I don't accidentally damage the bottom screen with rubbing alcohol. That's a pain. Here's my pick. Okay. I'll just get this permanent off. It's just gonna get run all over the place if I don't. Ism is a pain to deal with. It either works or it doesn't. Might be I'm almost wondering if this piece is just bent. I know when I saturate it with rubbing alcohol, it sort of makes this mechanism work a little strange. I don't think I'm worried about this plate. It almost seems more of a mechanism problem, where it should be clicking out, just staying in place. We'll just bend it up though. Now it's not even a factor. Ah, maybe it was a greater factor than I expected. Now it's working, well, just fine aside from the rubbing alcohol, which I think is just increasing friction. So I'm gonna have to play with that a little more. It's gonna be just a lot of saturating the area, drying it, kind of playing around with this plate. But maybe it just needed a little bit of cleaning. But I'll just have to see what happens when it dries. For now, my phone that I'm using as my camera is about to die, so I'm gonna have to wrap it up here. Frankly, this thing is pretty much done. I have no real issues with it aside from the game card slot, which I think just needs a little more work, just a little more flushing with rubbing alcohol, actuating it, and just letting it dry. I don't think it's beyond saving. Worst comes to worst, I replace the motherboard because trying to replace the actual card slot is one hell of an ordeal if I don't have to. And either I set that aside for later. It's just a lot easier because I have a lot of very, very good motherboards that I can use in the meantime, and I can deal with multi-card slots later. But for now, I'm going to end it.